Today's my grandmother's yahrzeit, so we're going to dedicate the class to Rivka Bat Yitzchak. Should have Aliyat Neshama. And שתהיה נשמתה צרורה בצרור החיים. Tonight, Be'ezrat Hashem, is TuBeshvat. Most people think it's just another day that we eat some raisins and we move on. But this is a very powerful day that, based on the teachings of Kabbalah, that's what we're going to talk about today. This is the most auspicious day of the year for zivugim, for finding your other half.
Right now.
And not only that, for anyone who can get pregnant, and not only that, for anyone who's already in a marriage, then they have issues with their marriage, which is called Shlom Bayit. And we're going to go today through the reasons why, but more the mystical part of it. Now, the punchline is a minute long, but we'll take an hour to get to explain the punchline. The punchline is that this is the most powerful day of the year to do an action to find your other half. And this is the highlights. And the ones that, like I mentioned, just to repeat, anyone who can get pregnant, and people with problems in Shlom Bayit. And everybody needs Shlom Bayit. Even if you think you have a good marriage, there's no such a thing as good marriage. It can always be better. But nevertheless, at first I wanted to read from the text, but it would be way too long because I gathered the information from a bunch of different books. Major part of the information is gathered from the Book of Formation, different books of Kabbalah and the Zohar. One of the most profound of the books are Chesed Be'Avraham. But nevertheless, later on, if you want, I'll give you all the references, or you just rather enjoy the summary of a 7-hour class into hopefully will be less than an hour. But to first of all, bemet to cover the topic takes a long time, and like I told you, the punchline is short, but the preparation will take a little bit of a longer time. Some of the concepts are a little bit deeper than what we usually discuss. If something is not clear, maybe write it down or wait till the end. Even if something is not so clear, it's not so important, because we're mainly going to touch a few layers of mystical depth that are sometimes a little bit hard to grasp. And you might miss a few details here and there. But the point is that to understand why today, or tonight and tomorrow, is such a powerful day. And we have to first understand a few general concepts, and then we can put all the dots together. Now, the original book that we have of the teachings of Kabbalah, which is most of the details that we need to know, is coming from the Book of Formation, Sefer Yetzirah, that we attribute the book to Avraham Avinu. But nevertheless, Avraham Avinu got the information directly from Shem, the son of Noach, who got the information from Noach, who Noach got the information from Metushelach, Metushelach got the information from Chanoch, and Chanoch got the information from Adam HaRishon. And Adam HaRishon received, of course, the information Beruach HaKodesh from the Kadosh Baruch Hu, and this information was gathered by Avraham Avinu. Later on, it's Rabbi Akiva who actually compiled the book itself. But the Book of Formation is difficult to understand, but holds in it a lot of key information for many spiritual things, including the constellation of the planets and the stars, astrology, and what is called in Judaism mazal. Mazal is not luck, that you go to Vegas and roll a dice. This is not mazal. This is the completely different thing. Rather, mazal, I once explained that in length. Mazal is the spiritual tools that the Kadosh Baruch Hu gives you to fulfill your mission in this world. If I hire you to paint my walls, I have to give you a paintbrush. If I hire you to build me a closet, I have to give you wood and a hammer. The Kadosh Baruch Hu hired me to do something, and then he gave me the tools. And this tools is called mazal. Now, Avraham Avinu explains that the entire creation is due to the 27 letters of the Lashon Kodesh. The correction is, it's 28 letters. We went through that already a couple times. most people think the Lashon Kodesh has 22 letters. Really, it has 28 letters. 22 is the letters that you are familiar with. Another 5 letters are called Motiyot Mansapach, that we have a Mem and a Men Sofit, and Nun Sofit, Tzaddik and Tzaddik Sofit, and so forth. And then that brings us to 27 letters. And the book of Yetzirah explains that before Adam HaRishon sinned, there was another letter called Da'at. And after Adam HaRishon sinned, this letter fell down, and we're missing one letter. So we really have 28 letters. 4 times 7. We went through that already a couple times. 7 times. We talked about today the 7, how it comes many times. We have 4 spiritual worlds. Each world contains in its 7 sfirot, which are the attributes. It gives you to 28, the number 28. So we have 28 letters. And again, just to recap, 22 that you're familiar with, 5 of them that are the Otiyot Sofiyot Mansapach, and 1 letter that it's called Da'at. We don't have it. Very soon Mashiach is going to come. We're going to get back the letter, and then a lot of things will start making sense because we'll have another letter. But nevertheless, everything in creation is receiving a shefa and is created with a letter. In general, the letters are divided into 3 groups. The first group is 3 letters, and these 3 letters correspond to the 3 hidden planets, or the planets that are concealed, and these planets are kind of running the show in the world. And these 3 letters are Aleph, Mem, and Shin. Otiyot Emesh, which if you notice, it's the first letter of the alphabet, the middle letter, which is Mem, and the 1 letter before the last one, which is Shin, which one will expect these 3 letters to be Aleph, Mem, Taf. First letter, middle letter, and last letter. But Hashem did not want to create the world with these 3 letters, because if so, what word were these letters going to bring us? Emet. Emet means truth. Then if the Kadosh Baruch Hu would create the world with Emet, then everybody will be able to recognize God, and then what's the point of this world? There wouldn't be any Yetzer Hara, there wouldn't be any free choice. So the Kadosh Baruch Hu switched the Taf with a Shin, which Shin is the letter of Sheker, that there's going to be some type, Sheker is a lie, a deception, so there'll be some type of distortion of the truth, and then you have to go on a quest to find Hashem. These are called Otiyot Emesh, Aleph, Mem, and Shin. The second group, these are called Otiyot Kfulot. The Kfulot means something that has a double. And these letters are called, there's an acronym for it, Beged Kaparat. Beit, Gimel, Daled, Kaf, Pei, Reish, and Taf. These are the letters that if you put a dot inside, what's called Dagesh, it will change its sound. We don't have time now to explain that because I know Bet, it's easy, Bet and Vet. But Gimel, go to a Yemenite shul, you'll see the difference between Gimel and there's a Ga and Ja. If you ever heard a Yemenite making Kiddush, Borei Priya Jofen. So go once, I lived in Los Angeles, I used to attend at Yemenite shul. That's the only shul that was in where I lived. It took me half a year to start learning what they're talking about. I don't understand what they're talking even. But nevertheless, same thing we have with the Kaf, you know Kaf and Chaf, but also Daled. These are it's much longer to explain. We also have Taf and Saf and Reish. So there's a Reish Rapa, Reish Dgusha. Nevertheless, now we definitely don't have time to go through it, but these are called the Otiyot Kfulot, Beged Kaparat. These 7 letters, they correspond to the 7 planets that control and govern the world. And we're going to go through these planets very soon. And then the rest of the letters are 12 letters that we are left. And these 12 letters correspond to the 12 signs, to the 12 mazalot. And we're going to go through them very soon also. So you have 3, 7, and 12, bringing you to Kafbet Otiyot, 22 letters. Now, the 7 planets, they have a very strong role in our life. Even though we know that a Jew is above the mazal, above the planets, but nevertheless, the planets have a very strong effect in our life. And when a person knows how to calculate the hour of the day when they were born, the day, the month, and so forth, by the position of the planets, you can know a lot about your characteristics, a lot about your future, your past, and so forth. We started going through that in the classes that we went about the letters in the name. Now I'm just kind of laying a very broad foundation. We're not going to go into details. If it interests you, maybe we'll do some more classes with much more details. But nevertheless, the planets have a lot of control over our life. Very quickly, to go through these planets, it's not so important, but just so we know, the planets in Hebrew are Shabtai, Tzedek, Ma'adim, Chama, Noga, Kochav, Levana. These are the names in Hebrew. In English, Shabtai is Saturn. Just to us to have a reference, each planet has an angel that is controlling that planet. The angel that controls the planet of Shabtai, Saturn, is called Kapziel. And it's important to know, Techav will understand later on why it's important to us to know, but the first one that we're going in the list is the planet Shabtai, because that's the one we're going to be concentrating on today. The planet Tzedek is called Jupiter. The angel that is in charge of Jupiter is called Tzadkiel. The planet of Mars is Ma'adim, is Mars. The angel that is controlling it is the Samech Mem Aleph Lamed. We don't even say his name. He's the angel that is controlling Ma'adim, the planet of blood. Then we have Chama, which is the sun. This is the angel Raphael. As we know that the Chama, the sun, has the power of healing. Noga is Venus. This is Annael. This is the name of the angel. Kochav is Mercury. This is Michael. And then we have the moon, which is Levana, and the angel is Gabriel. These are the angels that are in charge of the planets. These are the planets that are involved here. Now, every month is also governed by these planets, and every month is created with a letter. Later on we'll go into that. We're not going to talk so much about the letter of the month, because that I did last week in the class about Shvat. But the letter of the month of Shvat, the letter that creates and is controlling the month of Shvat, is the letter Tzadik. Now, the letter Tzadik is a very unique letter, because if you look at the shape of all the letters, remember today we had a class in the morning, we said that Lamed is 3 Vavs. We drew the letter Lamed, and we showed how it's 3 Vavs. A Vav on the top, a Vav in the middle, a Vav on the bottom. Tzadik is the letter Nun, but bent forward. And then the letter Yud on it switched around, if you're looking how Tzadik is written. So remember, again, the Nun is bent forward, and the Yud is turned around, they're back to back. In Kabbalah, there's always an explanation when there's a connection face to face, panim el panim, and connection when it's back to back, achor leachor. So the Yud and the Tzadik, in the Yud and the Nun, in the letter Tzadik, they're back to back. And that's important to know. Later on we'll get to the idea why specifically this Yud. And the sign of the month of Shvat is Gli, which is Aquarius, which does, just in itself, it gives us a lot of information. Now, the topic that we're talking about now is how to find your other half and how to have a good marriage and how to have child. People who are born in the month of Shvat and their sign is Gli, is Aquarius, or people that in their name is you can find in the numerology the sign of Aquarius. I'll explain to you in a second what I mean. These are usually people that will find it very difficult to get married. They either get married in a very late stage or they don't get married at all. So again, ones who are born in the month of Shvat and they have the sign of Aquarius, or that in their name. If you remember, we had a few classes about the name. We started, we didn't finish. And I explained that every name you can calculate the numerical value of the name. In Judaism, we calculate the numerical value of the name by the name of the person and the mother's name. When you put the name and the mother's name together, you subtract from that 12, corresponding to 12 signs. If you left with the digits 11, then that's usually going to be, that's corresponding to the sign of Aquarius. This particular person will have a lot of problems with getting married. Either they're not going to get married very, very late, or either they're not going to get married at all. And I'm going to explain a little bit on the surface what it means. First of all, every sign gives a person a shefa, a certain abundance. Doesn't matter if you were born on the month. You don't have to be born on the month of Shvat to be Aquarius and to get a Shefa from Aquarius. You actually only get 30% is if you're born on the actual month of Shvat. 70% is if in your name the numerical value will bring you to a Shefa of Dli, of Aquarius. I'm going to use the word Dli because in Hebrew it makes much sense. I'm translating it just so you can relate to the name, but it's Dli. Aquarius is just the English way of explaining it. But nevertheless, one of the major problems that this Aquarius has is that the Aquarius is fed from the letter Yud. Yud is corresponding to Chokhmah. The problem with the people who hold the Shefa from Aquarius is that they have the power, but not the way of bringing it out. So in Hebrew, it says, En kosher bitzua. You have it in the Chokhmah. Chokhmah is a nekuda. You just hold the information. But there's no manifestation of that power. So it stays in the koach of Chokhmah, and it can transgress into the world. And in our words, how it's said in a very simple way, there's a lack of self-confidence. Now, a lot of people say, what are you talking about? I'm full of confidence. So the fact that a person can speak loud, or that his chest is out, that doesn't mean the person has confidence. A person who has lack of self-confidence will cause that person. It doesn't mean the person is bad. It means that the power is staying in the level of Chokhmah and it cannot come down to the world, which causes the person to have a problem with finding this bridge to connect the person to the other half. And that's why, again, we see in Shvat that the Yud is backwards. The Yud is not forward. So there's no Shefa from the Yud. Rather, the Yud, which corresponds to the sphere of Chokhmah, it's turned around, so you don't receive Shefa from the Chokhmah. So the person is kind of stuck. A very quick hint or something to apply. If a person knows, now we can't don't start throwing your names now and saying, does my name have a Shefa from Dli here? But if you get to the point that you realize that that's one of your problems, then the way to overpower it is for a person to speak publicly. A person that has a low self-esteem or not a lot of confidence, put him now in front of a crowd, they start losing themselves. But that's actually the remedy. If a person doesn't receive Shefa from the Yud, the only remedy is put the person in front of a crowd. Let him start talking. Or in the world of the Torah, let him be the Chazan. I heard from a rabbi that I'm in touch with that he's very into the names and the signs, and he's very, very knowledgeable. And he has a student that was stuttering for years. And he kept telling him, become a Chazan. Me, a Chazan, about Tfilah? He says, yeah, that will be your way how to fix it. And sure enough, there was a scene one time. He was in Miluim, in the reserves in the army. He was placed somewhere. It was the holidays. He wanted to make a minyan. Everybody says, we don't know how to pray. He went to be the Chazan, and miraculously, he was totally cured. Stopped stuttering at all. So, but I'm just giving this as a side note. Now, again, like I told you before, which is very important, you don't have to be born on the month of Shvat to be Aquarius Shefa. That's if you are born on the month of Shvat and your sign is Aquarius, it's only going to affect 30% of your characteristics and your mazal. But if you have the Shefa of the Aquarius in your name, then it is affecting 70% of your mazal. So again, you don't have to be born on Shvat. It's enough to find this. Shefa is the source of energy that is affecting your name. And we talked about that a few times. We started learning about how the letters, they receive Shefa from the Sfirot, from the emanations, from the elements, and so forth. And in your name is David, you can calculate where's the Shefa coming from and see what is the problem. Shefa is an abundance. So it's extremely important that one can look in their name and see, and then to know how to address it. Now, this is one topic that we need to understand. Next, the year is divided into 12 months. 6 months are called the winter months, Chodshei HaChoref, and 6 months are called the summer months. Now, If you've been listening to my month class, every month that we do, I always explain how there's always one month in front of another. If you take 12 months and you make a circle and you cut it in a pie, there's always going to be one month that's in front of another month. There's always a connection between these 2 months. This is called parallel, makbilot. That one month is in front of another month. So for the winter months, there's always going to be summer months that are in front of them. If you make a circle, imagine our circle, cut it in a pie of 12 pieces, and all the 12 months are in the pie. There's always going to be one month that is, the tip is meeting another month. This is called parallel months, makbilot. We spoke about it in all the classes about the month. Now, the 6th month of the winter, they are called the pregnancy of the world. I'm sure you're familiar with the Talmudic argument if the world was created on the month of Nisan or if it was created on the month of Tishrei. When is the beginning of the year? Because Rosh Hashanah is on Tishrei, but Tishrei, according to the text in the Torah, is the 7th month. And Nisan is the beginning of the year. So there is a Talmudic argument between different sages if the world was created on Nisan or Tishrei. The months, the winter months, are called pregnancy months. And the summer months are actually called the Ibur. I will explain that in a second. Now, once every 3 years, we have an extra month. This year, we're going to have a leap year. This month doesn't have a parallel. It's a month that doesn't have a mate, so to say. It kind of throws everything off. But nevertheless, when we're looking at the months, so we have Nisan and Tishrei, which is the 1st month and the 7th month, that they're facing each other. Now, the summer months, they're called pregnancy. The winter months are called pregnancy. I'll explain everything. And the summer months are called birth. There's a difference between the pregnancy and the birth. Pregnancy is concealed. You don't see the child. You don't see the baby. It's developing. But the summer, which is the birth, that's when the baby is already not concealed. The baby's out. Now, take all this information. Now that we know that, now we have to kind of build on that in order to go one step forward. Now, the winter months are Tishrei, Cheshvan, Kislev, Tevet, Shvat, Adar. These are the winter months. The order of the winter month is corresponding to the Sfirot. So Tishrei is Chesed, Cheshvan is Gvura, Kislev is Tiferet, and so forth. Right? You follow? Now the same thing on the other way around in the summer month. Summer month are Nisan, Iyar, Sivan, Tammuz, Av, Elul. Nisan is Chesed, Iyar is Gvura, and so forth. They're going corresponding to the Sfirot. Now, the winter months are called male months, even though it's pregnancy, but they're still called in the Kabbalistic term, male months. And because the husband, the male, is the one who gives the birth. It's the woman who has the pregnancy. But the husband, the male, is the giver. He gives over the energy. The summer months are called female months. And they're the one who actually gives the birth or bring it into the physical world. If you're looking at things that happen in our history, the building of the Mishkan specifically was happening on Nisan. Nothing happens in our history by chance. It's not a mistake. The Mishkan was built specifically on Nisan. There's a reason for that. Not only that, the destruction of the temples were always in Tammuz and Av. These are female months. Because if you're looking at the Sfirot, in the side of the female, Tammuz and Av is Netzach and Hod. And on the Netzach and Hod, but from the female side. It's important that, I know a lot of the information might sound to you like gibberish, but we have to throw all the information out so we can later connect it all together to understand the power of the month of Shvat. So, if you're looking at the month, the destruction was on female months, in the summer, that was Tammuz and Av, but the miracles, the months where we see unbelievable miracles, which is Kislev and Adar, Purim and Chanukah, and then Nisan, which is Pesach. These are winter months, which are male. So we see the game here between a destruction. We see there's a destruction in the summer months, and there's a birth in the winter months. Now, the winter months, this is where it gets a little bit hard to understand, so I'm just going to give the idea, and then we're going to move on. I'm sure you're familiar with the 4 names of Hashem that come out of the combination of Yud Kei Vav Kei. Yud Kei Vav Kei, the numerical value is 26. But when you fill in the letters, this is called Milui Otiyot, you get different numerical values. You get a numerical value of 45, this is called Shem Ma. You have a numerical value of 52, this is called Shem Ban. There's a numerical value of 63, Shem Sag, and a numerical value of 72, Shem Ab. This is how you write the letters in. If you write the letters Yud, and then the letter Hey, and then the letter Vav, and then the letter Hey, Yud Kei Vav Kei is 26. But if you write the Yud, Vav, Daled, you write the letter Yud, this is with Milui Vavim. Then there's Milui Heim, and Milui Alfin. Depending how you write the letters, gives you a different numerical value. So Yud Kei Vav Kei ends up being 4 different types of names. And again, Ab, Ban, Sag, Ab. These are the numerical values. 45, 53, 50, 52, 63, and 72. We spoke about that a couple times in the Zohar classes. How does it affect the universe and the reality and myself, from which combination I'm getting energy? The winter months, they're getting their energy from Shema, from the combination of 45. The summer is getting the energy from the name Adnut, Aleph Dalet Nun Yud. It's just getting different types of energies. We're not going to continue to go into so much information in that, it's just going to confuse you. It's just for us to understand that the 6 months of the winter, they get a certain type of energy, and the 6 months of the summer, they get a whole different energy. That's why it's actually affecting the world with the season. The reason why we have seasons is not because the earth is swinging on its axis and then going in circles around the planets. That's the scientific part of it. The reason why we have seasons is because what type of energy is coming from Yud Kei Vav Kei into the world. Is it affecting the world in heat, in cold, in destruction, in light, and so forth? So the point to take from that the group of the months of the winter, that's one type of energy, and the group of the months in the summer is a different energy. Now let's go back to the month of Shvat, and this is the month that we need to focus on. Moshe Rabbeinu, he wrote the Torah. There's no question here, there's no doubt here that the Kadosh Baruch Hu told him what to write, and he wrote it. Anyone that will say Moshe Rabbeinu added of his own opinion, or it was written by a human, or any type of idea like that, this is called a complete apikoros. Everything that was written in the Torah, the Kadosh Baruch Hu told Moshe what to write. It's not written by a human. Moshe Rabbeinu is just writing. The difference between the first 4 books of the Torah and the last book, that the first 4 books, Hashem is speaking and Moshe Rabbeinu is writing. The last book, the book of Dvarim, Hashem is speaking through Moshe's throat. So Moshe is talking, but it's really Hashem talking. Ho'il ve'bi'er et ha'Torah azot. Moshe Rabbeinu puts on autopilot and blah, 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 and he starts talking. But it's really the Kadosh Baruch Hu talking. So there's a difference between the first 4 books and the last book, which is called the book of Dvarim. It's also called Mishneh Torah, because this is when Moshe Rabbeinu is, so to say, speaking, but nevertheless this is coming from the voice of Hashem. When Moshe Rabbeinu wrote the book of Dvarim, was from the first day of Shvat, Aleph Shvat, and he finished it on Zayin Be'adar, the day he died. 36 days. That's what it took him to talk and to write it down as he talks. So again, we have to see now all the connections. So the first day of Shvat till Zayin Adar, 36 days, that's when Moshe Rabbeinu is writing the 5th book. Why specifically on Aleph Shvat Moshe Rabbeinu starts writing it? Why does the Torah even tell me that Moshe Rabbeinu starts writing it? How often do you find in the Torah dates? But if the Torah is already giving me a date, must be a reason here. And it says in the Torah that Moshe Rabbeinu on the first day of Shvat started writing the book of Dvarim. So first of all, why Dafka specifically the first of Shvat? Why not the first of Kislev? Why this is the day Moshe Rabbeinu decides to start writing the book of Dvarim? And not only that, what does it matter to me? Do you really care when Moshe Rabbeinu started writing the book of Dvarim? How come the Torah doesn't give me dates? The Torah gives me dates about important things. Now we just read last week that on the 16th day of the month of Iyar, the man came down. Exactly a month after they left Mitzrayim. Okay, so they give me a date. I need to know when the man came down. So the Torah sometimes gives me dates, and sometimes the Torah doesn't give me dates. Here we have a clear date, Aleph Shvat, when Moshe Rabbeinu started writing the book of Dvarim. I want to know, first of all, why and what does it matter to me? Now, we spoke now briefly about the female months and male months. Usually, the male is a giver, even in the physical world, and the female is a receiver. And then there's going to be a result. In the physical world, take a man and a woman, and the man gives the woman, and the woman receives. I'm not talking about flowers right now. Then there's going to be a result. What's going to be the result? It will be a baby. Right? Baby in Hebrew is called Yeled. Right? When somebody asks you how many kids you have, how kama eladim yesh lecha? It doesn't say how many boys you have, how many girls you have. That's how you speak in Hebrew. You say how many kids you have. So kid in Hebrew is Yeled. Techav we'll see what's this Yeled. But nevertheless, the first 4 books of the Torah, they correspond to the male side of a giver. Bereshit, Shmot, Vayikra, Dvarim is an energy of giving and just giving. The 5th book, the book of Dvarim, that Moshe started writing on Aleph Beshvat, it's a giver, but it gives over. There's a very big difference between me giving you something and then you giving and you giving it over. So this is the difference between the first 4 books and the last book. Now, today is TuBeshvat, and there is an argument in the Talmud between Bet Shammai and Bet Hillel. When is the Rosh Hashanah, the head of the year for the trees? Bet Shammai says it's Aleph Shvat, right? And he says this is Rosh Hashanah Leilan. Hillel says no, it's the 15th day of Shvat. We have 4 Rosh Hashanah. And the Rosh Hashanah Leilanot, there's an argument in the Talmud between Bet Hillel and Bet Shammai. First of all, any argument in the Talmud, it's not that Bet Hillel has an issue with Bet Shammai. It's not that they're rivals. Each one sees something from a different angle, and the argument is not about fighting with each other. It's about showing 2 different ways. So again, Bet Shammai says the first day of Shvat, Bet Hillel says the 15th day of Shvat. The halacha is ruled like Bet Hillel, it's in the 15th day of Shvat. But why does Bet Shammai say the first day of Shvat? Bet Shammai says the main rain season is Kislev and Tevet. This is the main time when rain comes down. And sometimes a little bit of Shvat. That's according to Bet Shammai. I'm not a meteorologist now. I'm just telling you what Bet Shammai is explaining. So Bet Shammai says most of the rain of the year, they fall down in Kislev and Tevet. Bet Hillel says that the sprouting of the fruit, this is called Chanita, of most of the fruit happens on the 15th day of Shvat. Today, it was Karen that reminded me, if you remember last year we had a few classes about Masrot, and in the classes of the Masrot, I was explaining the difference between the Masrot in vegetables and the Masrot in fruit. And you calculate them in different times. The fruit you calculate according to TuBeshvat, and the vegetables you calculate according to Rosh Hashanah. And she was like, maybe now you should remind us what's going on now, because it changes the periods of the Masrot. So if you only buy from a place that you rely on, that they give Masrot, good. I personally don't rely on anybody. So you need to know how to give the Masrot. Even if there's a doubt, even though the greengrocer, the shop can tell you, don't worry, we are making sure that we're buying from farmers that give Masrot, I don't like to rely on anybody. I still give them Masrot. I just don't say it with a blessing. But I don't want to rely on anybody. I can't think I can rely on a on a man that works in a greengrocer. He think he really checks every little produce where it's coming from. It was given masrot, wasn't given masrot. But nevertheless, in that class that I gave, the series of classes on masrot, I was explaining how some of our sages saying that eating fruit that wasn't given maaser on it is worse than eating chazir, worse than eating pig. So, and the problem is here in Israel. The problem of masrot is only in Israel, not outside of Israel. But this is something that you want to bring your awareness to, and to be very aware of what's going on with the fruit that you're eating in the land of Israel. And how to do masrot, when to do it, there's ways to do it. But nevertheless, when it comes to the fruit, because you give masrot on fruit and vegetables, when it comes to give masrot on fruit, you calculate the time of when the fruit started sprouting. This is called chanita. I don't even if you know, I don't think it even calls in English sprouting. Before the fruit comes out, comes a little flower. And then, budding. Yeah, sorry, that's the word, budding. In Hebrew it's called chanita. Maybe you heard the term. First comes a little flower, then the flower will rot, then the fruit will start growing. And the maser is calculated from the chanita. So according to Bet Hillel, the chanita, the budding, is TuBeshvat. And that's goes that we need to know the halacha for masrot. But nevertheless, what is that going to do with me? I'm not a farmer. Even though I do buy fruit and I want to know how to do masrot, and it's something that I highly recommend that you learn and look into it. You don't want to eat fruits and vegetables that didn't give maser in. And like I told you, even though we buy in different places that the place says, no, we have a hashgacha, I will still give them maaser. You give it without a blessing. All you lose is a little piece of fruit. You don't lose much, but better safe than sorry. Nevertheless, what is that got to do with me? We know in the book of Dvarim, there's a verse. This is in chapter 20. Chapter 20, verse 19. It says, Ki ha'adam etz hasadeh. Because the man is the fruit of the field, is the tree of the field. Last time I looked, I don't look like a tree. So why is the Torah saying that I am the tree of the field? Because I do have characteristics like a tree. Now, each and every one of us has a mazal. And like I told you, mazal is not when you roll the dice and you like, give me this, and this is not the mazal we're referring to. Mazal is the spiritual tools that Hashem gives you to complete your mission in this world. And each and every one of us has a mazal. And the mazal will be built from many different details. The month you were born, the day you were born, the hour of the day you were born. When were you conceived? Were you conceived in the night? Were you conceived in the day? Were you conceived in which hour of the night? Because every hour of the day corresponds to a different sphira. The Mekubalim or great tzaddikim, they know exactly when to be there with their wife. There's a perfect time when to be with the wife in order so the act will be in the right time, and that also affects the mazal and affects the person. Then the name of the person and many different things will affect my mazal. It's almost like now take the best driver in the world, the number one Formula 1 driver, and put him in a Toyota Corolla, and then take a person that barely knows how to shift gears and put him in a Lamborghini. Who do you think is going to win? The guy with the Lamborghini, because his tool is much more powerful. The other guy is driving a little Toyota. So the tools that Hashem gives you, I mean, you can be the best of the best, but if the tools are not fitting you, how are you going to drive in this world? How are you going to perform what you need to do, and how are you going to get to the journey if you're missing tools? So my mazal affects me in a very deep and profound way. Now, the secret of the mazalot, of the signs, they're all corresponding to the seven planets, because the planets are the ones who feed the mazalot. And if I know how to align the planets with the mazal, then I know how it's affecting my mazal. Now, very quickly, just that we should know, some planets, they affect 2 months. Some planets affect 1 month. So very briefly to go through it, later on you can take your notes and see which month you fall under. But the month of Nisan and the month of Cheshvan, and by the way, this is a very important point. A lot of people, when they calculate their sign, they go by the English dates, which is completely wrong. My wife, till she made tshuva, always thought that she's a Libra because she was born in October. on the 22nd of October. But then when she became observant, she found out she was born on Cheshvan, and suddenly, in the age of 28, she becomes a Scorpio. So 28 years she thought she's a Libra, and suddenly she was like, oh, no, everything makes sense. I wasn't even a Libra. So the months and the signs, they go by the Jewish month, and some calculated the wrong way. But nevertheless, Nisan and Cheshvan, these signs, Nisan is the sign of Taleh, Aries. Cheshvan is the sign of Akrav, Scorpio.
Which
and
is
Aries is Nisan. Nisan is Taleh. How do you call it? Not a goat, a lamb. A ram. But this is called Aries. Maybe I'm pronouncing it wrong. Aries. And these two signs, these 2 months, they are influenced by Mars, by the planet Mars. The months of Iyar and Tishrei, the Iyar is going to be Taurus, Shor. Tishrei is a Libra, Muznaim. They are affected by the star, by the planet Noga, Venus. So, okay, I said the Hebrew ones. Then you have Elul and Sivan. And Elul is Betula, Virgo. And Sivan will be Gemini, Teomim. They are affected by the planet called Kochav, which is Mercury. Then Tammuz is affected by the moon, Levana. This is going to be Cancer. Av is affected by Chama, by the sun. These are the 2 months that are affected by one planet. And Av is Leo. Then you have Kislev and Adar. Kislev is Sagittarius. And Adar is Pisces. They're affected by Tzedek, Jupiter. And you have Tevet and Shvat.
I just changed my Mazal.
Tevet and Shvat is Shabtai, Saturn. And these are Capricorn and Aquarius. Okay? And these are, just that you know, later on you want, we'll write it down, or you watch the video and you write it down so you will know. Now, every one of these 7 planets is what we say in Hebrew, Katan Aleinu. We're not even looking at the planets. The planets are affected by the Sfirot. So Shabtai, Saturn, is directly affected from Chokhmah, from the Sphira of Chokhmah. Now, we, as the nation of the Jews, and every nation is affected by a different planet. The nation of the Jews are affected by Shabtai. That's the planet that is affecting us. That's the Mazal of the Jews. And Shabtai, in Hebrew and in English, it's Saturn. I ignore completely the English names. Shabtai has an unrevealed secret in the letters, which is called the secret of Bereshit. If you remember, a few days ago I told you that I have a book for about 700 pages, that the majority of the book is explanation, interpretations, and sources only on one word of the Torah, the word Bereshit. This thick book. Somebody compiled information just on the word Bereshit. How many words are in Bereshit? In the word Bereshit, you break the letters, how many letters you can get in Bereshit. Unbelievable. And that's the word that the Torah starts with. So, Bereshit, if you're looking at the letters, the word, it starts with a bet and ends with a taf. Asher bara Elohim la'asot. When the Kadosh Baruch Hu finished the creation, the last letter of the verse is taf, la'asot. So you have Bereshit, it has here the first letter and the last letter. Shabbat, if you take the word Shabbat, the word Shabtai, some people write it with Aleph, but it's not the right way to write it. Shabtai, some people write Shin Bet Taf Aleph Yud, but it's not correct way. You write it Shin Bet Taf Yud, Shabtai. What's Shabtai? Shabbat and Yud. Now, Yud we put aside for a second. We said this is the Chokhmah. And the Shabbat, you cut it again. So you have Shin and Bat. The letter Shin and then the word Bat. Bat, again, when it's divided, it has the Bet of Bereshit and the Taf of La'asot. And Shabbat is an acronym of Shabbat, Brit, Tfilin. These are the 3 covenants that we have with Hashem. And a man who is also in charge, or not in charge, but rather responsible for his wife, he does the otot. So a man has to put tefillin, and a man has to do circumcision. A woman also has to observe Shabbat. Either way you're looking at it, you always have to have two covenants, always. So Shabbat is one of them, Tefillin is the other one. So Shabbat is 7th day, so we only put Tefillin on 6 days. But the Brit, you can't get rid of it, by the way, if in case you didn't notice. Once you circumcise, that's it, no turning back. So you always have to have two of the signs, of the otot, of the signs between us and Hashem, the covenants. So Shabbat is 1 day, Tefillin is 6 days, and the Brit is all the time. These are the otot, the covenants that we have with Hashem. Now, Shabtai, the planet Shabtai, is the planet that controls on the day of Saturday. Because 7 planets, 7 sfirot, they control 7 days of the week. So the day of Shabbat is controlled by and getting its energy from the planet Shabtai. Now, when it's referring to Shabbat, Brit, and Tefillin, by the way, it's important to know, people think that the mitzvah of milah, of circumcision, is just what you do to the child when he's 8 days old. This is just the physical act of it. The real mitzvah of milah, of Brit, is guarding the Brit, is that the man is only with his wife. And the man is not with any other woman, definitely not his wife, not by himself, not in any other place. There's only one place where the man is allowed to put his semen, and that's only in his wife. Any other way, this is one of the most severest sins in the Torah. So when it says the mitzvah of milah, it's not what you do to the child when he's 8 days old. This is just a sign on the body, is you have to guard the Brit for the amount of years that you are alive. But we'll get to that soon, because that's the source of all the problems of all people. Now, going back to the 2 months that we need to focus on, is the month of Tevet and the month of Shvat. These are the 2 months, by the way, if you notice by what I just read about the months, these are the only 2 months that are attached to each other. If you notice, from what I just read, Nisan and Cheshvan are completely far away from each other. Nisan is around, I don't want to say now April and November, it's going to confuse us, because every year it changes. But Nisan and Cheshvan are far away from each other. Ayar and Tishrei, completely away from each other. Elul and Sivan, away from each other. The only ones who are attached is the ones that I said to Tevet and Shvat. They're next to each other. And Techev will find out exactly what's the secret with both of them attached. But Tevet is a male month, and Shvat is a female month. And this is the connection between the female and the male. Slowly we'll get to the point we want to explain. Now, Tevet and Shvat, what's so powerful about these days? These are called, in the term, our Talmudic term, Yemei HaShovavim. Yemei HaShovavim is the acronym of the 6 parashot that we have from the book of Shmot. Right? We have Shmot, Bo, Beshalach, right? Vitro. This is the acronym Shovavim. Now, Shovavim is when, when we pray, especially when we say Tachanun and Al-Chet, we mention one thing that we're asking Hashem to forgive us and forget. This is called Chataot Neurim. Then we did sins when we were young. The youth sins. And this is called Shovav. Shovav is like a misfit, not a misfit, a naughty boy. Goes and does things that are not so kosher. So these 6 weeks that are called Yemei HaShovavim is the most auspicious time to do what's called Tikkun HaBrit. Most of the problems in our planet, in the world, is because of arayot, of forbidden relations. This is the biggest problem we have in our planet. And forbidden relations is what you have, 99.9% of the planet is failing in forbidden relations. And men and women that are not even married to each other, and then same gender, and all this immorality that's going on in this planet. And the damage it does to the world is unbelievable. And Yemei HaShovavim, these 6 weeks, are the time of a rectification, specifically what's called Tikkun HaBrit. And any person, almost any person, it's almost impossible not to fail in the Brit. We talked the other day about Yosef HaTzadik. Why is he called HaTzadik? He was the one who was able to guard his Brit. Even though the wife of Potiphar, top-notch model, from Vogue and whatever the rest of the magazines are called, and she was seducing him every day. This is a 17-year-old boy, 17 going on 18, and the wife of Potiphar, the master, where he's in charge of the house, the balabait, the husband, is traveling in China and Singapore doing business, and his the model wife is at home, and she's seducing Yosef all the time, and he is like a rock, nothing. You're not getting nothing, lady. And then he runs away. He's called Yosef HaTzadik, because almost anyone in history failed in that department. Nevertheless, the months of Tevet and Shvat are called Yemei HaShovavim, the 2 months of the most powerful time to do tikkun for Avon HaBrit. And these are 2 very hard months. The Zohar says these months are full of din, just judgment, a lot of din. I'm sure you notice that these months are pretty intense. Everybody feels pressure with a lot of judgments, a lot of dinim. Now, the month of Tevet, the sign is called Gdi, Capricorn, and Shvat is Dli, Aquarius. Gdi, it's written in Hebrew, Gimel, Daled, Yud. Cut the word in half, it's Gad and Yud. Gad in Hebrew is Mazal. If you remember when Leah named Gad, Hine Bagad. Also when we send prayers that we say like Kirat Shema Lamita, we say Gad Gedudi Gudenu. The word Gad is Mazal, means Mazal. And Yud, of course, because the Mazal, the root of the Mazal is in the sphere of Chokhmah. If the Yud is pointed to me, then I get Shefa from Chokhmah, then my Mazal is flowing very, very good. If Yud gets turned around, the Chokhmah gets turned around, what's called Achoraim, then I don't have access to my Mazal. Stuck. Something is stuck. I don't have Mazal. Not in Parnasah, not in finding my other half, not in having kids, not in anything. Whatever it is, each one, the Mazal will affect him in a different way. This is Gdi. Gdi again is the name of the sign, Capricorn. Now, it says that Shabtai is a very powerful planet that can cause unbelievable destructions. But when there's a good, when Shabtai, how did you call it? Saturn. Yeah. When Shabtai, you get the positive out of it, unbelievable mazal, the most powerful energy you can bring out from this planet. That's why it says that when a person is guarding his brit, and there's no leak, so to say, then the mazal of Shabtai is unbelievable. Now, where do we know in the Torah that guarding the brit is one of the worst sins? In the sons of Yehuda, and Onan. That's a lot of people ask, where are you bringing this, that Shmirat HaBrit is such a severe sin? Now look at the sons of Yehuda, if you remember them, and Onan. They were married to Tamar. They didn't want to get her pregnant. Remember the story? So what does the Talmud says? Dash mi bifnim, zorea mi bachutz. I don't want to get too technical with the term, but that's what the Talmud says. They used to be inside and then don't want to finish inside. So they didn't get her pregnant. So the first one died, the second one died. And it says, V'hiyeh er ra be'enei Hashem. Hashem called him Ra. Ra is evil and mean and bad. So it says that the one who doesn't guard the brit is called in the name of Hashem Ra, but the one who guards the brit is called Tov. We just learned 2 weeks ago about the birth of Moshe Rabbeinu. What did Yocheved said when he was born? Vatireki Tov hayeled. She saw Tov. Now Tov is good. Tov is the numerical value of 17. Gdi, Capricorn of Tevet, is the numerical value of 17 also. So, because it's Gimel, Daled, and Yud. So when you nourish from Shabtai, but you get the positive of it, you are untouchable. The Shefa is unbelievable. But when you turn it around and you make a blemish there, then Shabtai becomes destructive. It will destroy everything in your way. Shabtai is very extreme. If it's extreme to the negative, it's destruction. Extreme to the positive, it's extreme good. Now, there's another thing. This will be long to explain, and we're really running out of time. Shabtai is also what's called the secret of the Chokhmah of the Geula, of the redemption. The redemption is rooted in the sphere of Chokhmah, and Shabtai has the secret in it that depends where you're getting the Shefa. That's why the Geula can come in a destruction, and the Geula can come in an unbelievable, like that, Keherefine. And that depends already on us. Now, the secret of what's called Sod Haisha, the secret of the female, is called a bucket, a Gli. This is already the month of Tevet, of Shvat. Tevet is the Gdi. This is the Capricorn. The secret of the female is Shvat, and the sign is Gli, Aquarius. And what's the secret here? That bucket is where you put something in. You want to go to the well, you can't go with anything else, you have to go with a bucket. The female is the receiver, she's the bucket, she's the Kli to receive. And this is the opposite of Gli. When a woman receives a Shefa, what would be the result? We mentioned before, a man and woman come together, the husband gives to a Shefa, an abundance to the woman, she receives it, now what would be the result? A child. And the woman is called a Gli, a bucket, a vessel. The word Gli in Hebrew is Daled, Lamed, Yud. Now when you switch the order around, what do you get? Yeled. So when the female receives the shefa and she gives it out, then she gives a yeled. That's the result. Now, very interestingly, that the gematria, the numerical value of the month of Shvat is Ish, 311. 311 is the numerical value of the word Shvat. So Shvat is Ish, Ish is a man, which means the Shvat is the giver. Now the Zohar says, and the Talmud also says, En Ish belo Isha. You cannot be called an Ish, a man, if you don't have a woman. The Zohar says a man who's not married is called Palga Gufa, a half a body. So you can't even go under the title of a man if you don't have a woman. Besides the fact that the one who's most responsible in guarding the Brit is the man. And a man who's lucky, who has a wife, then he knows that he's much less to sin if he has a wife than he doesn't have to, chas v'shalom, sin in Shmirat HaBrit. Even though, even with husbands and wife, you can sin with that with no problem. Now, here, I know we're going to many details, but we're finishing in a few minutes. Here is the secret of TuBeshvat. When we want to summarize everything to TuBeshvat, the 15th day of TuBeshvat, this is called Sod HaIsha. Isha is a woman. The numerical value of a woman is a very interesting word, the word honey, dvash. This is called Sod HaIsha. And to keep it simple and short, this is brought down the Rabbi, where he says, he goes into length, that Shabtai is the planet that causes the problems. It will cause sicknesses. Any type of sickness will be caused from Shabtai. Death, poverty, shame, anything. Shabtai is the one who's in charge of that. But how do you get Shabtai to affect you in that way? Is when you sin. When you sin, you damage, especially the root of Chokhmah, the Shoresh of Chokhmah, then this all comes. When you don't do that, then Shabtai is the one that gives you and nourishes you. This is to make a long story short. Instead of going, the explanation is long, but I see we're really running out of time. So when you do a mitzvah, you are building, you are doing something positive, then Shabtai will affect you in a positive way. You do a sin, you're damaging, you're creating a blemish, then you will get the short end of the stick. Now, Kabbalistically saying, if you remember, we just said the argument between Hillel and Shammai. Shammai said that Rosh Hashanah Leilanot is Aleph Shvat, that the rains come till Aleph Shvat. Hillel says till the 15th of Shvat. Kabbalistically saying, again, now there's not much time to explain it. We talked about it in other classes, that there are two forms of energy in the directions that they're going. One is going from above to below, one is going from below to above. In the Kabbalistic term to that, Hasidic philosophy says this is itaruta dilela, itaruta diltata, an awakening from above, an awakening from below. The Kabbalistic term to it is Maim Nukbin and Maim Duchrin. Maim Nukbin is when it's going up, milemala lemata, below to above. Maim Duchrin is above to below, from the higher world to the lower world. Maim Duchrin is a male energy. Maim Nukbin is a female energy. So till the first day of Shvat, the energy is a male energy, giving, coming down. And from Aleph Shvat, it's female energy going up. That's why when Moshe Rabbeinu, he started writing the book of Dvarim specifically on Aleph Shvat. Now, when it's compared to the Sfirot, remember I told you in the male months and the female months, so Tevet and Shvat are Netzach and Hod. That's where they correspond to each other. And okay, we're going to skip a few things just because we're really running out of time. But the Sfirot of Shvet and Tevet and Shvat are Netzach and Hod. Netzach, the definition of Netzach is suffering in this world so you can have eternal life. If somebody would ask you, where do you want to suffer? Here and have eternal life, or suffer there? No, 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 no. Let me suffer here. This is the idea behind Netzach. Netzach is Nitzchiyut, eternity. So, when there's a damage in the sphere of Netzach, the suffering will be here, but you gain eternal life. Hod, on the other hand, Hod is a female sphera. Now, the Chanita, the budding that we're talking about in the 15th day of Shvat, this is when the male and the female, they meet. This is called a zivuk, a mating. And that's where Gli and Gdi, the signs, they come together. This is the time when there is a zivug. A zivug is mating, or coming together, or unity. Now, the two signs that are parallel to each other, the two sfirot that are parallel, called parallel, is Netzach and Hod. They're next to each other. And that's the same thing with Shvat and Tevet. But I'm sure you remember, because a few months ago we mentioned that, it says in the Talmud, in Tractate Ta'anit, Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel says that there were never better days to the nation of the Jews like Yom Kippur and the 15th day of Av. Now Yom Kippur, I understand, it's a day of atonement. But why 15th day of Av? I explained at the time, if you remember, that if the spies would come back to Moshe Rabbeinu and said that everything is good, the spies came back on the 9th of Av, on Tisha B'Av. And they said Lashon Hara about Eretz Israel, and then we were punished 40 years in the desert. And up until today, we're paying for that. But if the spies would come back on Tisha B'Av and say everything is good, on the 10th of Av, they would start wrapping everything up and leaving. 3 days journey. They would enter into the land of Israel on Yud Gimel B'Av. 1 day of war to conquer the land. That's Yud Dalet B'Av. And Tetvav B'Av, Moshe becomes Mashiach. Bet HaMikdash comes from Shamayim. That's it. The story is over. But that we didn't reach to that. So Tu B'Av, the 15th of Av, would have been the day that Mashiach would come and Bet HaMikdash would be built and forever. No going through all this headache. So the 15th day of Av, that's why it's such a powerful day. Now what does the Talmud says about the 15th day of Av? That the ladies who are single would go out to the fields dressed in white, and they would dance and go to the males who are single and try to pick them up. I know in this world, in society, the man is the one who has to go and pick up the girl. But here the Talmud says, well, the other way around. The females will go to the men and pick them up. This is what's called Besod Nekevat Esovev Gever. This is a very high level that when the Mashiach is going to come, it's the roles are going to change. The female is going to be the upper one. So in the time of Av, it's when the females used to go and get the male. Now, this is a very long story now, for sure we don't have here. It says in the Talmud, Rav Yosef says that on the 15th day of Av, that's when the Shevet Binyamin, the tribe of Binyamin, was able to come back to the congregation of Israel. If you remember the whole story, there's no time now to tell the story. Go and look at it. You can find it in Tractate Ta'anit, page 15. Excuse me? Yeah. And Pilegesh Bagiva, exactly. And then the tribe of Binyamin could not come, they could marry anyone from the congregation. But the Rabbi Yosef says in the Talmud that on the 15th day of Av, Binyamin was able to come back into the congregation and marry the women. Now, to make a long story short, the Ari Kadosh, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria says that sometimes men come to the world without their wife. Because the female soul doesn't always have to come back in a reincarnation. She can go into Gehenom, get cleansed, and go into Gan Eden. Because if a man learned Torah, he can go into Gehenom. because the light of the Torah cannot penetrate into Gehenom, so they have to send the man into a reincarnation. And the wife, not necessarily. And many times the husband comes back to the world without the wife. The wife doesn't want to come back. Now, not only that, sometimes the soul of the man comes down to the world, but the soul of the wife still didn't come down to the world. And then what happens is, then there are male souls that they come down to the world, but there's no mate. There's nobody to be with. But nevertheless, there's always going to be the males in the world that lose their other half, and then the ones who come here without a wife can take these wives to marry them. Now, this you can go in length in Shar Gilgulim, in the Gates of Reincarnation, by the Arizal, written by Rabbi Chaim Vital, where he goes into length and to depth about everything that has to do with these Gilgulim and souls, female soul, male soul, and this explains a lot when people finding it hard to get married. But nevertheless, the month of Av is we know that the 15th day of Av is the time when the females used to get the males. This is not the right order. The order is that the male has to get the female. Now, what's the complete opposite, the parallel between Av and the other month of Av? Is Shvat, which means that the 15th day of Av is the time for zivugim, but when the female pulls the male. But the opposite is the 15th day of Shvat, is when the male pulls the female. Therefore, it makes it that the 15th day of Shvat is the most auspicious time to pull the zivug, to bring the mate close to you. Now, TuBeshvat is when the days of the Shovavim are over. It's 6 weeks past. 4 weeks from Tevet, 2 weeks from Shvat. So now the 6 weeks of Shovavim are over. There is a tikkun, there's a rectification in the world. And now it makes the 15th day of Shvat the most auspicious time for creating a zivug. Now, in Rosh Hashanah La'ilan, in the head of the year of the tree is on the 15th day of Shvat, like Beit Hillel. There is a verse in Shir HaShirim, there's no chapters in Shir HaShirim, but the second chapter, verse 13, if you read it, it says, HaTe'ena chanta pagea. The translation is, the fig has put forth its greens. This is the verse in Shir HaShirim that tells us that this is the day where it's the most auspicious time for a unity, for a zivug. So that's why I started the class by saying that the 15th of Shvat is the most powerful time to get married, to get pregnant, and for Shlom Bayit, when there's a problem with the zivug is unity. So the zivug can be between a single man and a single woman, that they need to get married, between a married and a married woman and a man, that just is some type of a short circuit, and when the woman can get pregnant. Now, the Chanita, the halacha explains what is Chanita, the budding. It's the moment that the fruit starts developing. And it's not the flower, it's not when it sprouts, it's when the fruit really starts. So, you take all this, and this is the short version of what I wanted to give over, but we see that the month of Shvat, where it's positioned in the months of the year, the energy that it's receiving from the planet, the female and male months, how they work together, it all boils down that the 15th day of Shvat is the most auspicious time of the year to ignite the energy of finding your other half, your zivug. And again, the zivug can be to get married, Shlom Bayit, and to get pregnant. Now, to make a long story short, what one wants to do on this day, I mean, it started right now, so you have 24 hours to do a few acts that will allow you to greaten your mazal. The first and most important is to read the whole book of Dvarim. That's the day that Moshe Rabbeinu, remember we talked about the book of Dvarim, the giver but giving over. So you read the whole book of Dvarim. Don't ask me to say it in English. Deuteronomy, something like that. Deuteronomy. And so you read the whole book of Dvarim. The next thing you read after that is Shir HaShirim. And the third one you want to read after that, the secrets to each one. Why? The third one you want to write is the book of Kohelet. Please don't ask me also to say that one in English. Ecclesiastics. You want to read the whole book of Kohelet. Why specifically the book of Kohelet? The book of Kohelet has 28 times the word et. Et laledet, et lamut. Et means a time. 28 times it says the word et in the book of Kohelet. What is 28? No, I know it's a number, but what's 28? No, forget about the letters right now. Wait, hold on. A hand in Hebrew is called yad. The numerical value of yad is 14. When you have two hands, it's 28. And I told you that Shvat and Tevet are the only 2 months that are hand in hand. All the rest of the months are disattached. So when you take two hands together, like a husband and wife, they hold their hands. It's the point of the unity. So the 28 itim in the book of Kohelet, so you read the book of Kohelet too. Now, really just to finish up here, there is a great Mikubal called Rabbi Avraham Azulai. He has a book, Chesed Be'Avraham. He specifically says there, where do you want to be on this day to say this little prayer? For his mystical reason, he says, go to Tveria. He explains in his book that every one of the holy cities is corresponding to one of the Sfirot. He says Meron, where Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is buried, is corresponding to the Sfira of Tiferet. Tzfat corresponds to the Sfira of Netzach. But Tveria is the Sfira of Hod. And specifically he says, if you want to read this, what I said, go to the grave of the Rambam, Rabbi Meir Balanes, Rabbi Akiva. There's a lot of holy sites in Tveria where you want to go and read it. But to summarize the whole thing is that this is the most auspicious time to open the Mazal, is to get the nourishment from Shabtai when the Yud is turned the right way and not turned the other way. So there's no time now to start calculating if you have a Gli in your name. There's a very good chance that there is. But even if yes or not, you want to make sure that the funnel of the Shefa that is coming from the planet of Shabtai is not damaged. Because when it's damaged, needless to say, it just brings destruction. But you want to switch it around. So needless to say, the first thing one wants to do is to make sure that they're guarding the Brit. I'm not saying it's easy, I'm just saying what you need to do. And even married people need to guard that. But nevertheless, this is the moment in the universe where you can reverse everything. So you want to take this day to take on yourself to do tshuva for the things that you did in the past. For a time, it's a auspicious time to take new decisions. It's a time when the fruit starts budding. This is the time to create a zivug, to find your zivug, whether you're single, to get pregnant, for shlom bayit and so forth, and to take advantage of this day. And what I said to read, it's not so bad. The whole thing I don't think should take more than, if you're a very slow reader, maybe 2 hours, maybe. The book of Dvarim, you can knock it out in probably 40 minutes. The book of Dvarim, yeah. And then Shir HaShirim, chik-chak, 10-15 minutes, Kohelet, another 15 minutes. I mean, I think it's a very good investment. So all is left is to wish you all and to wish us all that we should only be influenced by the Shefa of the planet of Shabtai. We are able to bring the redemption bechesed v'rachamim if Shabtai will give us a Shefa, a positive Shefa. So far, Shabtai is aligned in a way that it's not bringing Shefa. That's why there's a lot of destruction going on now, and it's going to become worse and worse and worse. So you see it coming in forms of natural disasters, diseases, sicknesses, terror attacks, wars, and so forth. Why? Because it's all coming from the destruction of Shabtai. But we have the ability to switch it. Then the Geulah can come like this, bechesed u'rachamim, with kindness, with mercy, with goodness. B'ezrat Hashem, we should all take the opportunity in this auspicious day to focus our energy and to turn our mazal from chas v'shalom, a negative mazal, into a very positive mazal.